So, a video has been making the rounds online, and it's making some pretty huge claims about the recent Bihar election results. We're going to break down exactly what that video is arguing. Let's get right into it.
Wow. Okay, so that is the core claim from the source video. It's a massive accusation, right? So our job here is to really unpack the evidence they present to try and back that up. We're going to walk you through the main arguments the video makes. Now, just to be super clear, we're not here to prove or disprove any of this. We're just laying out the argument as it was presented in the source material, so you can see the full picture for yourself.
All right, first up. The first major piece of evidence the video focuses on is all about money. Specifically, a massive cash transfer program that they call, and I quote, legalized bribery.
So here's the thing. According to the video, the problem isn't the scheme itself, but the timing. It's all about the timing. The claim is that dropping 10,000 rupees into the accounts of 12.5 million women right before and even during the election is a direct violation of the Model Code of Conduct. You know, the rule that says you can't hand out money once an election is announced. Now, this is where the source video really starts to build its case. It points to what it calls a major inconsistency. They show how in past elections in places like Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana, the Election Commission stepped in and stopped very similar schemes. The video's whole point here is to ask, why was Bihar supposedly different?
Okay, let's move on to the second evidence file. This one shifts from the money to the voters themselves. And here, we get into some pretty serious allegations about duplicate voters and, well, free rides to the polling booth. Get a load of this number, 1.435 million. Citing an investigation by the Reporters Collective, the source video claims that this is the number of suspected duplicate voters that were still on Bihar's final voter list. They argue these names should have been removed, but weren't. Then there's this whole thing about what they call special voter trains. The allegation is that trains were specifically run to bring voters into Bihar from other states, and that their tickets were paid for. The video makes it very clear. This isn't just a nice gesture. They say it's a direct violation of the Representation of the People Act, which literally calls providing free transport for voters a corrupt practice. And to really hammer this point home, the source video uses clips from news reports. You can see reporters on these trains asking people, "Hey, who paid for your ticket?" And you hear voters responding, right on camera, saying the government or the ruling party paid for it. All right, on to the third set of allegations. This is where the source really starts to dig into the system itself, claiming that there was manipulation of voter lists and even a deliberate effort to, well, make sure the evidence disappeared. So the video lays out this timeline. And honestly, when you see it all laid out like this, it's pretty striking. First, they say a high court rules that the Election Commission has to provide CCTV footage. Then, not long after, the rules are changed to block public access to that very same footage. And the final step, a new policy to just delete all polling booth footage after only 45 days. And if you thought the last number was big, listen to this. The source video claims that after this whole special intensive revision of the voter lists, the final roll was short by about 8 million eligible voters. 8 million! That's a staggering number. But the video doesn't just stop at the big number. It gets way more specific, asking who was actually deleted. And according to their data, while Muslims make up about 17% of Bihar's population, they allegedly accounted for 33% of the voters who were removed from the lists. The argument here is that the impact was disproportionate. All right, let's get to the fourth and final evidence file. And this is where the argument gets really pointed, because it puts the spotlight directly on the referee of the whole process, the Election Commission itself. So, the video argues this change is absolutely critical. Let me break it down. The Supreme Court set up a selection committee that was pretty balanced: the Prime Minister, the Leader of the Opposition, and the Chief Justice of India. But then, a new law gets passed, and that new law kicks the Chief Justice off the committee and replaces him with a union minister, which, the source points out, basically gives the government a majority on the panel that picks the election watchdog. Then the source video presents this timeline, essentially to raise questions about a potential conflict of interest. It highlights that the day after the chief election commissioner announced that controversial voter list revision in Bihar, his son-in-law got a major government appointment. Then, a month later, his daughter did too. The video presents the timing of these events as something worth questioning. So after laying out all of that evidence, the video kind of pulls back. It asks, what does this all mean? What's the bigger picture here for democracy? And here's the final takeaway. The video isn't necessarily saying that a different party should have won. No, its main argument is that with so many alleged issues, the money, the voter lists, the trains, it's become almost impossible to know what the genuine will of the people actually was. And this is the thought they leave you with. It's a really powerful question. They shift the focus from just who won or who lost to something much more fundamental. If elections turn into this game of technical manipulation, what happens to the real-world issues that voters actually care about? You know, things like schools, roads, and jobs. It's a question about what democracy is really for.